It's November 2nd, 2024. This is Todd's Retirement Yacht, and my name is Todd. So, today I'm sitting up on the cabin top of my yacht. There's looking aft, looking forward, in the shed here, and I want to talk about one thing. As I mentioned in my last video, I think it's that buying a yacht is something you really have to do if you're going to retire to Mount Desert Island, Maine, and be comfortable and have a good life. So, what kind of yacht do you want to buy? There are a lot of options, and they depend on how you want to use your yacht. The big questions are power versus sail, and new versus used. So we'll look at each of those a little bit. What about power versus sail? What are we talking about there? Well, what we're talking about there is, what's your style of yachting? A sailboat can be very relaxing. You're out there cruising. It can be almost silent, or and the only sound you hear is the waves rushing by, and maybe a little bit of crackle from the sails as you zoom along at 6 to 8 knots. So no, it's not fast, but if you're sailing, the trip is what you're out for, not the destination necessarily. So sailboats are quite pleasant, and they definitely represent one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is the powerboat. Now, the powerboat is more about the destination, although it can be fun to zip around the area. But one factor with a powerboat is, of course, that it cannot, in general, handle as much chop as a sailboat. So, sailboat can manage much rougher conditions safely than a powerboat can, and also more comfortably. But, if your style of yachting is to hop aboard the yacht, say run out to Frenchboro, which is about a 12-mile run, grab a lobster roll out there, and then come back. Or maybe run over to Bar Harbor, or go out and have a quick look at the lighthouse on Mount Desert Rock. A powerboat that can run at 25 to 30 knots is going to make that happen a lot more easily in terms of time. And so you, of course, are going to be paying a good deal for fuel. Fast powerboats burn a lot of fuel. Sailboats don't burn much. I mean, I have a 36-foot sailboat. I think I burned 9 gallons of fuel last year. So that's not much. And that was almost exclusively getting in and out of the marina for the 30-plus times I went sailing. In a powerboat, 9 gallons would be nothing. You'd burn that the first hour you're out, most likely. So, there are a lot of options for what kind of boat you're going to buy. And, so the decision between power and sail can be is going to be a big decision, but it reflects your style. The other question that you need to answer is, what about new versus used? A lot of first-time boaters really like the concept of a new boat, but new boats are more expensive. That's one factor. They can be a lot more expensive, depending on how old the used boat you're looking at is. And they take a long time to build. Most yachts are not just sitting around in showrooms waiting for you to buy one. You have to order it. And a typical powerboat can take 6 months to almost a year to build. The bigger it is, the longer it's going to take. Now, I have a friend right now who is a project manager who is overseeing construction of a 57-foot powerboat, and they're well into their second year. And their current delivery date is sometime in the summer of 2025. So that's going to be early in the third year. So, that's a factor. You might have to wait a while. Sailboats take even longer to build than powerboats. A 50-foot sailboat might take 2.5, 3 years, maybe more. Depends on the builder and their crew. And even a smaller boat, a 35-footer or so, is probably going to take over a year to get if you go new. And you're going to pay a lot more money. So let's take a look at a couple of different power boats and a sailboat. Basically, there's not a lot of options right now. Everybody is out of the water for the winter. So I stopped by one of the boat yards that had some boats right next to the road where I could walk over and take some pictures of them. So we're going to look at 2 power boats, and I'll tell you roughly what a boat like each of those would sell for, and 1 sailboat. And these are, options if you're looking for a yacht. And these are all used boats, so if you found the one you liked, you could have it in a few weeks. It usually takes, 3-4 weeks to close a deal, depending on whether or not you have the money in your wallet and getting the boat surveyed, getting insurance for it, that sort of thing. So let's take a look at those boats now. Now, one option is that you can buy a boat like this. This is a Hinckley jet boat. This is what's called a Hinckley picnic boat extended cabin. And, they haven't built these for a while, but they're a nice boat. Probably set you back about $500,000. But they're ideal boats for around here because as a jet drive, you can pretty much ignore the lobster gear. And they'll go fast if you want to go someplace. The other option you have is to buy a sailboat. And this is a good example of a nearly ideal sailboat for around here. This is a Morris M42. And this is a boat that's easy to single hand, roller furling and in-boom furling on the Maine. All the lines are led aft, and it is very easy to sail this boat from the helm, single-handed. And yet it can accommodate, 6 people in a cockpit, and it has accommodations below that you can have a comfortable weekend or even a week underway. And it's a responsive boat with a fin keel and a spade rudder. So, nice boat. And not that expensive. These run around $700K as a used boat. You could maybe get them to build you a new one. I shudder to think how much that would cost. Well over $1 million, and it would probably take more than a year. Another option, if you want a little bit smaller boat, is something like this. This is a Hinckley Talaria 29 center console. It's also a jet drive, and can do over 30 knots. It is a good boat for going out on warm days. Not a boat I'd want to be out on a cold day on, because you're out in the weather. So it's a good boat just for running over to the islands, or just zipping around up Somme Sound or something like that in the summer. These are a little pricey, about $400K for a used one. I don't believe they're building them anymore, so you can't get a new one. Oh. Now we've seen some options, what kind of boat you might be considering. Of course, you can go with a smaller boat. You could buy like a 25 or 30 footer, maybe even one that's on a trailer, which is going to simplify storing it. You could bring it home and put it in your own garage, or build a specialized boat shed for it on your property. And that makes everything a lot easier. You don't have to schedule things and wonder if the weather's going to be good on your haul out day or your launch day, which is something I always have to go through with my boat. So, power or sail, doesn't matter which you buy, but you're going to need to budget for it. A new 35 to 40 foot powerboat is around here is going to cost you $1.3 to $1.5. That's $1,300,000 to $1,500,000. And a new sailboat, well, that's going to be much harder to buy because very few builders in Maine are still building sailboats. We used to have a lot. Just here in Southwest Harbor, Maine, we had Hinckley, we had Morris, we had Able, and a number of others. But they pretty much are no longer building boats at all, or just building power boats now. So, so if you buy a sailboat, chances are you're going to be looking at a used sailboat. Nothing wrong with that. You get one that's in good shape. It'd probably be better than a new one because you're not going to have to add a bunch of stuff to it to use it. A new boat may not come with things that you want. Power boats, well, there are a lot of used power boats out there. New ones are available too. As I said, they're very expensive, but the biggest issue with a new power boat is the time to build it. And but you can get a very nice boat if you're looking for a new power boat. So anyway, I think you, as I said, I think you need a yacht if you're going to live here on Mount Desert Island. And what you buy, power or sail, is up to you. But another thing you need to do before you buy a boat is you need to look into where you're going to keep it in the summer and in the winter. In the summer, when you first get here, you are not going to be able to just get your own mooring. So if you want to keep the boat on a mooring, you're going to have to rent one. And there are places to rent moorings. I couldn't tell you how much they are now. I'm guessing at least $2,000 a year to rent a mooring. That probably, hopefully, comes with a dock you can tie your dinghy up at and parking so that you can go to and from your boat and maybe head out for a couple of days and not worry about your vehicle. And alternatively, you can book into one of the local marinas. That's more expensive. A 40-foot sailboat at the marina where I keep my boat costs you, $6,300, $6,400 a year for the marina. And you still have to launch the boat and get it over there, rig it up, and then use it, and then at the end of the season haul it out and put it into winter storage. So you're going to have to decide where you want to keep it in the winter. Obviously, if you buy a small trailerable boat, you can keep it at home. You just haul it out on a trailer, maybe hire somebody to help you, and take it home. Put it in your garage, or as I mentioned earlier, build your own boat shed and keep it in there. But more likely, if you get a little bit bigger boat, you're going to have to keep it at a boatyard. And there are, let's see, at least 4 boatyards where you can store your boat around here, and maybe 5. The prices vary significantly. The less expensive yards are pretty much booked up with waiting lists. So you're probably going to end up in one of the more expensive yards that has space and can store your boat. But that's something you want to look into before you buy the boat. Make sure that you can find a place to keep it in the winter, because we have some really nasty weather in the winter, and you really don't want to have your boat hanging on a mooring or even at the marina in the winter. It can get beat up pretty badly. Even if it isn't severely damaged and sunk, just the wave action can really tear it up. So those are things you need to consider. And of course, there's the cost overall, but I'm figuring that if you're retiring here, money isn't really a huge consideration for you. You probably have plenty. Anyway, I hope that gives you some ideas about the types of boats that you might look into if you decide to move here and buy a yacht. And I hope you found this little video informative. Thanks for watching.